So let's talk about required practical number 4, endo and exothermic reactions. I'm not going to lie, after our most recent ones where we've talked about titrations and electrolysis, this is not going to be an especially difficult practical. I mean, what you do is you get a polystyrene cup, like so, and then into the polystyrene cup, you put some chemicals. And then what you do is you measure the initial temperature, and then you measure the final temperature, and if the temperature goes up, it's obviously an exothermic reaction, and if the temperature goes down, it's an endothermic reaction. I mean, honestly, there are not a huge number of interesting questions arising from this experiment. The only one that I can think of is why polystyrene? Well, it's because it's an insulator. Seeing as this experiment is all to do with temperature changes, the last thing that you want is your heat energy leaking out and dissipating into the surroundings and giving you an incorrect result. So you will probably do it in a polystyrene cup. You may be given a lid to put over the top, and that's to stop heat energy from escaping through convection. So yeah, in terms of method, it's not especially interesting. You could get asked to do a number of different chemical reactions as part of this. The exact ones really depend on what's lying around at the time. Basically, you could do an acid and metal reaction, something like magnesium plus hydrochloric acid, something like that, and then you end up with magnesium chloride and some hydrogen gas. I'll just balance that one up really quickly because there are 2 chlorines there and 2 hydrogens there. That's quite strongly exothermic. You might have done that one. Acid and carbonates, perhaps. Carbonates. Something like, I don't know, calcium carbonate, perhaps, CaCO3, plus something like sulfuric acid, H2, what colour shall I make that one? SO4, something like that. And then that will fizz, and then you'll get some calcium sulfate and some water and some carbon dioxide. Something like that. Let me just finish balancing that. I can't leave it unbalanced. There we go. CO2. There we go. That's balanced now. You may do a neutralization reaction. So that's going to be something like HCl. Oh, I should really use the same colours. HCl. And what could I pick blue for chlorine? HCl. So that's an acid plus NaOH. And that's going to be sodium chloride. So NaCl. Plus H2O. So you could mix those 2 chemicals together and see if there's a reaction there. There will be, and that will be an exothermic reaction again. You might even do a displacement reaction, and you're going to get something like something like iron, so Fe plus something like lead nitrate. So that is P, different colour, PbNO3. And because iron is more reactive, it will displace the lead nitrate, and you end up with iron nitrate and lead. So you get Fe plus, oh sorry, let's try that again, FeNO3 plus Pb. Something like that. And you will measure the temperature before and after, and you'll see whether it's an exo or endothermic reaction. It's possible that you may talk about equipment. So you may be given a choice between a glass thermometer or a digital thermometer like so. You may be asked to choose and then justify your decision on why you've picked the one that you picked. And that's fairly straightforward, because this is a question to do with resolution, or the smallest change you can accurately measure. So if you look at our thermometer, the smallest that you can measure on this scale just here, one of those small divisions is going to be 1 degree C. That is going to be the very best that you can do. So like the distance between that and that is 1 degree C. Okay. If you then look at the scales over here, this has got a resolution of 0.1 degrees C. So you've got a little decimal point there. So the resolution on that one is much higher, and you should always pick the digital thermometer. It will help to make your experiments more accurate and precise. Seeing as there isn't an awful lot more to talk about in this practical, it's probably worth us just chatting about what I mean by accuracy and precision. So when I talk about accuracy, so how accurate your experiment is, I'm talking about how close are your results to the true value. It's kind of a strange thought that when you do a science experiment and you take a measurement, you're not actually measuring a true value. You're close, hopefully you're close, but there's always some kind of error creeping in that keeps you from measuring the true value exactly. The other term that I just used, precision, is all to do with how close the results together. Okay, so do your results agree with each other, basically? So you can have various combinations of these. You can have experiments with high accuracy and low precision and low accuracy and that sort of thing. Let's just sort of have a quick chat about that then, seeing as we have a spare moment. So if you can imagine that this is, I don't know, a dartboard or something, yeah? And what you want to do is you want to get all of your darts in the middle, or I don't know, it's one of those arrow boards. You want to get all your arrows in the middle. If you shot off your arrows or darts and you ended up with your arrows spread around like that, you would say that this effort had been low accuracy, and it would also be low precision. Because one, you've not got it in the center, hence low accuracy, and then your arrows or darts don't agree with each other, they're not all clumped together, so that would be low precision. How does this relate to an experiment? Well, your true value, the value which is value of the experiment, which it really is there in the center. You want your results to be as close to that true value as possible. If your experiment is low accuracy and low precision, then something has gone seriously wrong, because there are lots and lots of errors creeping in all over the place. To give you another little example, let's try a a different combination. Let's try like so. So again, imagine you're playing darts or something, and then you fire off all your arrows, and your arrows or darts or whatever are all hitting over there. You would say that that has low accuracy because it's not going in the center, but high precision. Now, what that would indicate in an experiment is you are not close to the true value, which is in the center. This suggests that there is some sort of systematic error in your method, by which it means your results are all wrong, but they're all wrong by the same amount. It suggests that there is something up with your method. Maybe a piece of equipment you've got is not measuring properly, and it's not measuring properly the same every time. Well, what other sorts of combinations can we have? Well, we could also, if I set up another one of my little dartboards, we could also have a situation where you fire off your arrows or whatever, and your arrows are going around like so. Well, in this case, it's high accuracy, but low precision. So in terms of a science experiment, your results are getting quite close to that value in the center, but they don't agree with each other. This suggests that there's some sort of random error creeping into your experiment. Perhaps you are actually using a glass thermometer, and you're going a little bit wrong with your measurements. But what's happening is error is creeping in, and it's making your results wrong, but by a different amount each time. So you'd need to go back, and you'd need to go and have a look at your method and see if you can increase the precision of your measurements. And then finally, there's like the gold standard. So I'll draw the very last one then. If you do your archery or dart throwing or whatever, and all of your darts and bows and arrows land in the center, then you are talking about an experiment with high accuracy and high precision. Not only are you measuring close to reality, but also your results are all in agreement with each other. Okay, that's kind of like the gold standard. So when you do this, what you want is precise and accurate results. Basically, if your results don't agree with each other and they're not what they're supposed to be, you need to go back and look again at how you are doing your experiment. Thank you very much.